today's guest, all right, let's stop the share here, is Heather Robeson.
That
All
was
right.
me.
There you are.
That was my big face.
I was trying to figure out what was going on. All right, all right, let's see. And unmute. Somebody help me out.
Fun me Jackson or something like that.
Yeah.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Good job.
Thanks, Val. Thanks, Jesse. Somebody. Did I make Jesse a co-host? Let me make Jesse a co-host if he's not. He should be. Here, let's do this. Yeah, make Jesse a co-host. Make co-host.
Yeah, Boomy came in here making all kinds of noise. We got her out. Oh, here's Cashmere.
All right. All right, cool.
Both of you are bouncer-like, so.
Yeah. That's what's up. All right, so guys, this is our guest today, Miss Heather Robeson. Heather has been around the business for a few years now. If you don't know Heather, you're not in the business. I think everybody in the business knows who Heather is. She's done an incredible job. She's grown a ton. She's recruiting an organization at lightning speed. She's great at getting new agents started, and she has a heck of a story. I know you guys can relate to what she's going to share with you. And more importantly, I think she's really mastered the fundamentals of telesales in so many ways. I mean, I don't want to say somebody's mastered it because everybody can get better, but she's done an incredible job. And one of the reasons why I could say she's mastered it is she knows she can get better. Like, I'm not telling her, like, there's nobody, if there is a training, Heather will be there. There was a time when I would do like a training in LA and then like a training like in Houston 2 days later, and she'd be at both of them. Like, just, it'd be like El Paso, Texas, Reno, Nevada. Heather would be there. Like, how the heck is this happening? So, and that was early on when she was literally just trying to figure out the phone script. So, thanks for jumping on, Heather. Obviously, top of the leaderboard this week. I picked a great week to put you on. For the people that don't know, just tell us a little bit about your background and how you found this, and then we're going to jump into the nuts and bolts of this.
Sure. So first of all, thank you for having me on. And yes, it is important to get to these events. And yes, I will be going to multiple. The hard part is figuring out how to get to all of them and making sure I can still make the money at the same time. That's the hard part, but you can manage it because I do. Started out as a teacher. I owned a daycare for many, many years in Connecticut, and then started teaching online. And I homeschool my kids, so I literally never wanted to work for anybody. And it wasn't a thought to work for anybody else, but I did for 3 years because I thought maybe it would be cool. I worked in a school system for 3 years. Let's keep that in mind. I was done. I was like, heck no, I'm not working for anybody. This is crazy. So I got out and I started teaching online, which is really neat. And then I had this whole computer thing already in my repertoire, right? I was teaching English to Chinese students in China, right? So I was on Zoom pretty much every day. Well, then COVID hit and things got bad and they decided to cancel that program. So I started door dashing, but I always had a love for teaching, always had a love for kids. So I was helping out a friend watch her kids and her crazy schedule. Because guess what? What I didn't know was she was in home. I had no idea why her schedule was so crazy, but she always needed my help. And then eventually I was moving from Connecticut to here in El Paso. And I was like, all right, well, I can try to DoorDash here, but I don't know if any of you really will ever get here, want to come here, but Trey's been here. And he's like, holy smokes, that city is huge. And I tried in-home once here and I was like, oh, never again. Then my other option was I could get licensed in Texas and teach in the schools, but I know like 2 words in Spanish. I'm better now. I might know 10. But I wasn't working in a school system here. So I had to find something. And my friend told me what she was doing. She was making really good money. I could tell because she had nice cars and that's all I knew. That's all I knew. So I was like, what are you doing? Well, the first time I studied for or tried to study for the test, she gave me the code and I logged on or what. I don't even remember the code, but it was the Excel thing. And it was just, I couldn't focus on it at that time. That was in February of 21. But I couldn't focus. I had a lot going on between the move and just everything. I was getting married, everything, like huge. So I kind of put it off. But in November, when we were really moving and when things were really actually happening, I said, okay, I got to do this. So I said to my kids, I was like, go up, like empty house and everything, go upstairs, go take the dogs, take the bird. We had the bird at the time. And I'm going to study. So I studied for 3 hours a day for 4 days. And on the 5th day, I took the test. And it's by the grace of God, or many of you don't know, my husband's deceased. That's what made me pass. I wouldn't recommend studying like I did, just so y'all know, right? And don't tell your new recruits that. But I do tell them that you've got to study it quick because it really doesn't matter. Like you've got to get the number, you got to know the laws, but you've got to learn through these things. You're really learning as I mean, I've been in this for 2 full years, 2.5 years total. And I've learned so much more than in that dang test, right? So with that being said, when I passed my test, that was cool. I got that magic number. I did some in-homes. It was horrible. And then I moved and I was like, okay, now I'm going to get married and all that. So in April, we got married. And then I was like, all right, I really got to start making some money here. Like, I'm not doing anything. I was really just not doing it. I was maybe doing 5 a month. And it wasn't enough to sustain us long term. But I ended up going all in and making it a priority. And, when I go to the events, Trey, a lot of the times I'll see something new. And one of the events, the Nevada one I went, the Las Vegas one of them I went to, it was my husband came with me. And I put in the chat, guys, if you have a spouse or if you have a supporter, don't care who it is, take them to the event. That was my husband's turning point to seeing what this business really was. It wasn't me trying to convince him. He saw it. And at that point, it changed our business completely. It made it an actual business versus me just trying to make money. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's
100%.
key to get yourself, take a chance on yourself, believe in yourself, and then get your spouse or your number one supporter there, in my opinion. And that's
great advice. And as far as that goes, if you were to break it down, this is going to seem like an off the wall question, but I'm trying to gear this toward somebody just getting started. They don't really know what they're doing, or maybe they've been here for a while and they started out good, or maybe they hit a wall. These are the people I'm trying to talk to. The people that, like, if they didn't jump on this call, they might quit tomorrow. What are 5 things? What are the 5 things that you got to get good at? And like, if there's an order to it, like if you had to break this down to 5 fundamental things or less, or 6 or whatever it is, what would you say they are?
All right, what popped to my head, because I'm too old for this, I have to write these things down, is number 1, you have to get good at time. You have to really work on your schedule and commit your schedule to doing what you don't know that you can do, but break it down. And it's going to change. It's going to change all the time. But if you have that commitment to the time that you need to put in, and everybody's going to be different, that's number 1. You got to get good at that. You also have to have no plan B. So if you have a plan B, you're always going to fall back on that. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is that it's easier, because this is hard. This isn't easy to sit here in an office 10, 12, 14 hours a day, depending on what day it is. It's not easy being here on Sunday unless I put it in my schedule, right? I have to put it in my calendar to say, okay, I have to have that commitment from my team. I call my family my team, because they're part of your team. They know. So have that team mentality. You have to get good at communicating with your team here in your home, your team outside of your home, your friends, your extended family, the mother-in-law who's consistently texting you, wanting you to go to the garden, right? Like, dude, I will do that on Saturday at this time, right? So having and managing time, having no plan B, and communicating with your team, whoever that team may be, including your, work team, but I'm talking outside of that, that's only 3. You also have to get good at, if you're telesales, which I think most people are these days, if you're not, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there were five
Just
people at
kidding.
the Hall of Fame dinner that still did it home,
Good for them. Good for them.
you know,
But
out of 400
right, good
or
for them.
395.
But you kind of have to have and get good at having a mentality of success, which is hard if you've never known what successful is. So you have to believe in something you don't know that you can actually do. You have to trust in that. And ironically, my shirt says trust in God, right? But if you have that faith in something, you can learn to get better at that as the time goes on. So I would say to add that you have to have belief and faith, and get good at trusting your faith.
Got it. And then tactically in the business, like if you were design like a boot camp for new agents, what would be the sections, and how would you teach it? Because you're an online teacher, and I know how big of a role the live dials has played, because you get people writing quickly. So how would you design a new agent training? Like break it down for us in pieces.
I kind of have one already. Aside from the
Nice.
boot camps that we have, I have they're required to come to, I call it a tips and tricks training. Essentially, I share all of my material with them, scripts, client financial inventories, sales tracker and all that. So I have that meeting with them. So we talk about the steps of now what do you do? You're licensed, you're contracting, you've got all your E&O, you've got all this. Now what? How do I study now? Be at your Zooms every single day. So once they have this class or this, tips and tricks meeting, they're no longer allowed to text me if I'm on this Zoom, right? So if I'm on Zoom, I'm not going to answer your text. Not because I'm rude, but because I expect you to be working on with me, right? We're a team. And when there's 35 other people there and you're not there, I'm certainly not going to have time to answer your text message. So get to work, get on the Zoom. So that's an expectation. Additionally, just giving them the tools, going over the script with them, making sure that they go over the script first with their dog, their partner, their kids, I don't care who, even if they have somebody who they're looking to insure, like maybe they have somebody in mind, get them on the phone, get them on Zoom, get them on the phone. I'll help you through it. Just practice that, the act of getting used to the script. And then the other thing is I teach highly, they need to do the trainings. So every single day up until probably, if I'm being fair, 3 months ago, maybe 6, I would listen to a training every single day from YouTube. So it wouldn't matter who it was, your name's on there, Frank's name's on there, like there's lots of people on there. I just listen to them. And so I say to them, learn, 30 minutes a day, take your time out, whether it's walking your dog, watering your garden, fixing dinner, I don't care what it is, but start following these people on the internet. And then you're going to find people from them that you like, right? You might not like me, and that's fine. I'm good with that. You're going to connect with somebody. I'm happy with that, because all we want to do is have people succeed. That every single one of us wants to help people to succeed. So if you follow these steps, I can't guarantee your success, but I know that if I had followed them early on, I would have had faster success, right? I know I would have.
So as far as the script goes, could you give us kind of like a 30,000-foot view of it? Like, what are you, um, I mean, I'm sure we could just do the whole script too, but what are some of
It's
the,
it's the same, Trey, right? And I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you think
no, it's
about
okay.
it,
You knew where I was going with it.
everybody's is the same. It doesn't matter
Right.
what script you have. Some will say a couple more words, will have, 5 or 7 more pages. But if you really listen to what people are saying on the live dials, you're going to hear the questions. You're not going to need them on the script. But some scripts
Right.
already have them there. So as long as you're going through that entire script and you're really like a new agent, for example, Solidity has a great script, right? And I don't use it now because I don't need it. But as a new agent, if you go to their website, get their script, bam, you got a perfectly good script because it tells you exactly what to say. Yes, no. Okay, say that, right? So, and that's good for new agents, right? But as you move forward, your scripts are all going to have the same thing. They're going to have an introduction. They're going to have the credibility. They're going to have making sure they're there, the credibility, explaining the process, medical, financial, and then giving the options and closing. Like everything's the same. You just have to understand once you're new or at the beginning when you're new, you're not going to want to put too much of your own little spice into it until you really understand why, like the psychology of the script. And so we do that. I let them quote unquote fail because I say you need to fail 100 times. I need you to fail 100 times. And what does that do? It gives them activity. They're wanting that fail because if they fail, they get a color on their sheet. Woohoo! That's their dial tracker, right?
Right.
And if they get color, that's rocking good news, right? and if you do that, awesome. But if you're not following the script, you're not going to get to where you need to get the person to whatever say no, or you give them too high of a quote or whatever it is, a number, I should say. I hate the word quote.
Why do you think most people, I think most people actually never start, but out of the ones that start, why do those fail? Do you think? When they do
I
fail,
think
when
they
people
have, yeah.
wash out of the business, the ones that start, what's the reason?
I think there's multiple reasons, but one of the reasons might be they have higher expectations of themselves and they think they're going to be better and they're going to be able to catch on. I catch on to everything. I'm really good at this and I can do this. And maybe I passed the test in 7 days, right? Or 5 days, whatever it might be. I can do this. And then they get slammed in the face because they're not dialing enough. They think they're dialing all day when really they're scrolling through Facebook where they're staring at the screen, listening to everybody else instead of dialing. So they're getting slapped around too much for them to handle. And there are people who can't handle that. They can't handle all that resistance. And so it's easier to go somewhere else and do something else. It's also inconsistent, right? If we're not, making $1,000 the first day, like, somebody else is, it's like, well, why didn't I do that? And then you get disappointed in yourself. It's a big mentality game too,
Yeah, it is. Well, I'm sure you've experienced all those emotions. So what happened? What was different with you? Why did you decide to keep going? Or how did you change your mindset to where it worked?
I guess I just don't like to give up, Trey. I didn't have another choice. Here's the thing. When we moved here, it was the part of the deal was my husband served, my new husband, he served in the military. And I said to him, quit your job. I can do this. And I might be pig-headed, strong-headed, whatever you want to call it. He calls me a Mustang, feral, whatever it might be. I couldn't give up because I don't want to fail. Right?
Yeah.
And I have a lot to rely on. I've got kids. I got a husband. I don't want him to go back to work because he's served our country. Like, stay, do your welding, fix my Jeep. I don't care. But if I fail, and there were times, guys, don't even think there weren't. He'd be like, should I go get a job at Taco Bell? And I'd be like, no. Right? Right. No, we're fine. We're fine. Right. And was it hard? Heck yes. I mean, all of us know when the account goes zero or negative, we're like, okay, come on, Mutual of Omaha, come on, America, right? You're just waiting for that pay to come in. But Trey, if you're not working consistently, that pay comes in further and further apart. And you then fall into the down of, okay, this is you, what am I going to do about my bills? Right? My bills have to get paid. So I had to work a lot. I still work a lot. And the more I work, the better I get. And when you get better, your money comes easier to a point, at least faster. And you're working and you're learning every day.
Mhm.
And then the money keeps coming faster. And then you're at the point, which I am, where I'm like still wanting to work 12 to 14 hours a day. The money's coming in. And I'm like, Heather, slow it down. I'm like, no, because the money's coming in. I want it to keep coming in. Right.
Right. You don't want to mess it up. I hear you. Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
afraid of failing that.
I think Sean told me one time, and hopefully I don't butcher it, but I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. But he's like, there's a point in time in the beginning, you're working way more than what you're getting paid for. But if you just do that long enough, you'll get paid way more than what you're actually doing. And so it's now how quickly that happens is it's different for everybody. And sometimes we get on the calls and I feel like, we make it sound too good, because it could definitely be good. I mean, in this long process, you have days that are like amazing. Like, oh my God, if it just went like that every single day. But then there's days that are like bad,
Yeah.
as far as this goes. So that it's like, well, how much can I suffer? And then sometimes when we do the trainings, we talk about the suffering part. People are like, oh my God, it's so difficult. But I think consistently understanding perspective wise, like all you're doing is sitting in your air conditioning house, calling people that are mostly happy, that mostly do want to talk to you, that mostly do remember filling out the request. And you get to have fun with your friends on Zoom. Like, as long and yeah, you got to invest money in leads, and yes, you got to be consistent with it, and yes, there's going to be learning experiences and things you got to change along the way. But I mean, the longer you do it, it's the best life. It's the best thing. There's
It
nothing else you could do to do what we're doing to make the kind of money and have the kind of freedom.
is.
So,
I go
um,
into like the Facebook groups and I see a lot of those door-to-door sales and stuff like that. And they're good, they make enough money, but I'm like, but dang, you have to go door to door. I had an
yeah,
agent I was interviewing a while ago, and she was in a company who was having her travel and overnight her, like she slept in a hotel to door knock the next day doing medical insurance. And I was like, I just wanted to throw up for her because that
yeah,
sounds disgusting to me. You
yeah,
know?
I know.
She was like, my car's falling apart. I'm like, uh, that sounds horrible.
Well, it's interesting. Like my son Emery, I was just talking to him earlier, and I made a comment. He goes, "Well, no, I remember a couple of years ago, it was different." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." Like he remembers like the sacrifices and the stuff, but it was always part of my family. Like I was always around. Like I'm around. Like you're around. You're just working a lot because you have your phone. But tell us about the freedom that this has allowed you to have and the choices. And what
Oh,
are some things you got to
absolutely.
do because of this business that you would have never gotten to do
I
any other
can't
way?
even go over the list, but I'll start because it's so much. It's so much. Starting from the beginning, getting to be home with my kids, and when they needed me, I can't do things like go to their events yet. I probably could, but I'm not ready to, like mentally. But if I need to and it's on my schedule, I can, right? So I'm really good at like getting better. They're getting better because they're 15. Put it on my calendar. If there's an event you want me to go to, or that I want me to go to, put it on my calendar. So that's huge. We did give that up a little. One thing I heard, and I don't remember who said it because I'm bad at that stuff, is um, give up the time now. And I fought with this at the beginning when I was just starting. Give up the time now for the time in the future. But my kids were 12 when I started. And I'm thinking, well, if I give up their time now, they're going to be grown up by the time I get good at this, if I get good at it, right? But then I realized, okay, but they're 12, right? I've already ruined their life for the first 12 years. I think a couple more years is going to be all right, you know? And then when they're in their high school years and they need me to go to the high school things, and then when they later on, and I've got other kids too, when they get married, have kids, holy smokes, then my vision changed. My vision board that I had changed. Now I want houses all over the country because I got kids all over the country. right? Which I never would have thought of that 3 years ago. Financially, if I can't be there for them, how can I help their school? Because they're homeschooled, but it's called a micro school. It's a weird thing, but whatever. So now I can financially give to their school, which I never could have given. Church, holy smokes, used to be struggling to give $5. Now I can give them a good chunk of money. That excites me. Like, and it's not hurting me, you know? It's just it's a total different thing. And the thing that always stuck to me and made me remember like how important this is that every convention I go to, every single one, I hear two numbers, 3 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years. How long did it take you? 3 years. How long did it take you? 5 years. How long did it take you? 3? Literally, I hear that I'm at my 4th convention I just went to, for the first 3 conventions. And that's what pushed me to be like, don't give up. Don't give up. Because you're so close to 3 years is nothing. Like, that's nothing. So if you can get there, and lo and behold, this is my 3rd full year. This will be my 3rd full year. And I feel like I have not made it. Guys, don't think that I made it and I'm living in some mansion. But heck, I am way better off than I was 3 years ago, financially.
Well, and how much did you issue last year personally?
516,000.
Okay, that's
And
good.
that was my 2nd full year.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
It really is. Well, good work. Now, tactically, so let's talk about phone script, presentations, talking to clients, keeping business on the books. What are 3 things that happened that were like 3 things you implemented that you can look back over the last 3 years and be like, those were turning points. Those were where I went from not selling it to selling it, or where I went from like they would normally cancel after they buy it, now they don't. I mean, what were 3 major things you implemented that changed the game for you?
The number one thing I'm going to tell you is in May of that year that I was not doing anything, I sat down on a phone call with Paul McLean, and I was so scared to talk with him because he was the upline at the time, right? I was so scared to talk to him, but he had texted prior and said, make sure you have your dial trackers for 5 weeks. I'm like, oh, Snapdragons, I need to reschedule this appointment because I had not tracked my dials very well. So I rescheduled it for 5 weeks out and then implemented the dial tracker. Well, lo and behold, my activity improved, right? And by the time I talked with him, he was like, yeah, you just need to dial more. No, he said I needed to put more money into leads. That's what he told me. So that was the first thing. So I doubled what I did in leads. And I talked to him. I was like, well, I'm kind of scared because I don't have any money. He was like, okay, well, you're just going to write the same amount of business. I was like, oh, snap. Like, okay. Right. So that was the first thing. The second thing was because I listened to trainings every day, I heard, I believe it was, I don't remember her name before she was married, but it was Nina Hill. Completely loved, because it was telesales, loved Ringy. And so I didn't know anything about CRMs at that time. I was using the orange one, Power something, whatever it was. Phone burner.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing. It was doing so great. But I said, you know what? They must know what they're talking about. So let me look at it. And I started it with nothing. Like it was Ringy, bare Ringy. It was nothing. And so any CRM, guys, I will for my team say Ringy because then it's different story. But any CRM, the agent CRM is a good one too. I just don't need it because I fully developed since that day. I've fully developed Ringy, and it tripled my business. So I was doing 3,000 a month. The next month I started doing 12. So a month, way back when, right? So that tripled my business. If that's the right number. Maybe it was 4 and 12. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never said I was good at math. So that, and then committing to a schedule was the third thing. Like once my husband went to Vegas with me, at that point, he said, well, we gotta get this going. He saw that it was real. And he was like, we've got to do this. You've got to, and he was like, and he's still to this day, will be like, go to your hole. How much money did you make today? I'm like, well, I hit my goals. He's like, did you hit your money goal? I'm like, no. He's like, get back to your hole. I need motorcycle parts. Right. So doubling down on my calendar, making sure I'm doing what I said I'm going to do. You know, you're going to have bad days. There's days where I wake up and I'm like, I cannot get out of bed, and I sleep for another hour or two. There's going to be those days. But if most days you're waking up before you think you can, I was doing 5 o'clock. I'm going to be real about this, guys. I was 5 o'clock thinking that was early until I heard somebody else woke up at 4:30. And I was like, oh snap, I need to get up at 4:25. So I got up at 4:25. Then I heard somebody say, well, I get up at 4. I'm like, I got to get up at 3:55. So I started getting up at 3:55. Then I heard one person say they woke up at 3:55. And then I was like, crap, now it's 3:54. So I just have to. And it's not because I don't even know who these people are, but if they can do it, why can't I? And that's really how I've based this entire 3.5 years. If they can be on that stage, why can't I? If they can make $1 million, why can't I? If they can have a big, huge team, why can't I? And what do I need to do to get there? Make sense? Like, how do I do that? What do I need to work? And maybe it's going to take me a little longer. I seem to do that in life. I'm almost 50. Next month, our birthday. High five. We have the same birthday.
High five. Yeah, that's right. We do.
But I'll be 50.
That when you said that.
I'll be 50, and I feel like I've taken a long time to get as successful as I want to, and I've still got a long ways to go. But if they can do it, why can't I?
Yeah, I like that. That's definitely the truth. And I think everybody that succeeds has a little bit of has that. That's, if they can do it, and then you have, I think a lot of people spend way too much time thinking, what if it doesn't work? I mean, other people spend time like, well, what if it does? Like, what if they are telling the truth? What if I should wake up at 3:55? What if that will change my business? What if I do double my leads and I sell a lot more? Um, what if what they're saying on the calls is true? What if I do get on the live dials and I dial all day instead of looking at the screen? What if my results do change? What if that did change everything for my family? Which incidentally,
it will.
it will. Yeah, it will. It's everything. It's, I love the fact that you have such a strong support system. I think that's something everybody,
I'm very fortunate.
You're very fortunate in that regard for sure. But there are people around everyone on this call that are supportive. I think one thing though is they hang around people that aren't. Like, if your spouse isn't supportive, don't divorce your spouse. Like, we're not saying that. just work harder and then they'll support you.
Yeah, but you had to, like, literally, it took me getting him to event.
Right.
I literally
Get him
had
to
to
see
pray that getting him to see it would do it,
Right. Amen to that. Well, all right. So it's 3:50. So what else do you want people to know?
Well, there were a couple of questions that they individually messaged me, so I will get to those. This one's really long. No plan B, okay. Well, first of all, I'll just give you my number because this is going to be hard. So my number is, if somebody wants to text, I don't care. If I don't answer you, I'll get to you soon. And if I don't answer you because I read your message, that means I have an iPhone and it was blue and I forgot to answer you. So just text me again. I still love you. But my number is 860-908-3641. And this person's talking about leads. Okay. Yes, this is hard. She said, my accounts are negative. Rent is due. I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. The insurance has amazing potential, but I'm not tapping in properly. I'm so embarrassed. Me too. Don't worry. And ashamed that 1 year into this, I'm still at the beginning. So I understand that. I highly understand that. My upline knows that I would call them on a monthly basis, probably crying at least for the first year, and not cry. There were times I was actually crying, but because a lot of it is getting through that financial part. And I would have to find money. And I'm not going to lie to you guys. There were times when I'd had to borrow, lots of times when I borrow money from my own kids, right? And pay it back, because once you get paid, you pay them back, right? But there's lots of different strategies to how to make the financial part work. One of the things that I do and tell my team, which I wish I had done, I never did, but I started to, and it became pretty good. This is my formula. You owe money to everyone. Everybody knows, probably everybody who's not making $15,000 a month right now owes money to somebody, right? You have to remember that you will pay them back. You will pay your rent. You will pay your mortgage. You will pay your lights that are, keep your your internet. You need that.
Yes.
That's number one. And you kind of need a roof over your head. You might not need the one you're in though. So think about things like that. What do I not need? Right. And then once you get a payment, and every single day, and I tell all my new agents this, every day, the first thing I do, besides look at my Bible app, so the second thing I do is go through my bank account. Whatever came in, I take 30% of that and put it into, I pay myself. So I move it to a different account. And then I take 30% and I put it towards my lead card. And the lead people will tell you there are many times when I haven't had the money right away. So I have to move money from another thing to pay my lead bill, because that's going to multiply, right? That's going to multiply your money. If you pay back your debt, which I'm not saying don't pay back your debt, you will, I promise you will. You're not going to get an ROI on that. Whereas if you pay for leads and call them again and again that week, and if you consistently do that, your ROI goes up. And if you suck at what you do, which you will at the beginning, your lead spend is going to go up as you go on, but you're going to get better at how many you're closing as you go on as well. So when people say, well, how much do you spend on leads? It doesn't matter. You're really bad at first, and you just have to use that activity to increase that money. And then the deposits that come in are going to be coming in more frequently. So when I say I look every day, I truly do. If I don't get, Sundays are the worst because you don't get any deposits on Sundays. Right?
Right.
And then Mondays are rare. They're rare because the Friday and Saturday stuff has to come through. So you have to learn how to manage that money. And if you don't start from the beginning, putting money into those leads versus paying off the debt that you owe, that's where you struggle. That's a lot of how you struggle. And I just wish I had known that earlier. I wish I had like a system, and I didn't. I just
Heather, I want to jump in and just add to what you're saying, because I was probably in the worst situation, and probably most people on this call is I didn't do anything like 30% here, 20% there. It was my philosophy in the beginning that no money left my hands unless I multiplied it. If $1 came in, I would never pay a bill, because that money had to be multiplied and then bills were paid. Leads were always paid for first. If I had $100, I had to 5X it. Then I made sales. Then money came in that I could pay things, but no dollar ever came in until I multiplied it first. I wouldn't let something come in and pay anyone. That mortgage was secondary, food was secondary. In the beginning, that's how broke I was. But I specifically told my wife one day, like, the mortgage had to be paid. I said, I can pay the mortgage today, and it'll be the last time I paid the mortgage, or I can buy these leads and we can keep things rolling. That's how important it was to me in the beginning. It's not always like that, but there has to be a short period of time where leads are everything, or you never get ahead. You're always going to be on that roller coaster. It's always going to be up and down. There has to be a point where you get ahead and get some momentum and get rolling. So just want to add
I wish I had thought of, like, I didn't know that in the beginning, and I wish I had, because it was just like that. It was, there's leads, there's bills, so I'll pay the debt. I really wish I had that mindset. Anybody listening to now, do just what he said. Just what he said.
Don't do what I
Make money off of your money.
My credit took a beating in the beginning, but I didn't care. This was everything to me, and I had to make it. And I was so sick and tired of being on that roller coaster, because that is what happens. You get some money in, you pay some bills, so then you're broke. So then you get a little bit more money, then you buy some leads, but it's just up and down, up and down. I just said, screw it, I'm gonna go all in. I didn't care about any bills. I had to pay it and get ahead. You know, I wouldn't recommend, I'm not saying people should do that. That's what I did. I killed my credit, but I had to get ahead and I had to make this business work. That's what I did. It was that important to me. And I was tired of being on that roller coaster. So that's how I handled it.
Well, it's just, you know, I'm glad you guys both said that, because it's a conscious decision to put leads first. Like Tiffany Broomberg said one time on a call, I think it's my all-time favorite FFL quote. Right? We should put it on a t-shirt. She said, if I won the lottery tomorrow, the first thing I would buy is leads. And I thought,
when you
that's
get
the
that
most important
mindset,
thing.
that's what you
Yes.
need. You need that
And she's
mindset.
like, I can say I buy $1 million worth of leads and turn that into, you know, and that's how you have to look at it. And everybody's going to come to the place where you make a conscious decision. There's going to be something that pushes you to a place where you have to make a conscious decision. Am I going to do this, or am I going to buy leads? And that's always the breakthrough moment. It really is. It may not be the first time you do it, but eventually that'll become the breakthrough moment. I know that I pawned my wife's engagement ring to get leads. I pawned my mom when my mother passed away. I pawned her car to get leads. I know Frank pawned some piece of jewelry. I want to say it was a wedding ring too. I think I heard that story. To get leads early on.
I took watches to the pawn shop so I could get gas money and leads for the week. Like,
yes,
you know,
exactly.
I had to go back and pick
We
back
would
up.
go, there's a food pantry down the road. We would go to the food pantry all the time. Like every Saturday we would go, and he would line up because it's a line, and he would sit in that line so I could work, and we wouldn't spend that grocery money. And we would I do what I can, canning, making soups, whatever, out of that food, just so that I didn't have to spend that grocery money and I could spend it on leads. That's exactly what we did.
Yeah.
And now we just go and laugh at them because they're sitting out there on Friday night at like 7 o'clock at night instead of Saturday morning. We're like, dang you.
Well, this has been a great call. Thanks for jumping on. Hopefully you guys got a lot out of this. Heather, you're doing a great job. Thanks for everything you do for the team. What is our dial team for those that don't know? How do they get on it?
It is. I tried to say it at convention. Apparently I spoke too fast, so I'm going to say it slower. It's the dial team, no spaces. And if you don't know how to spell, that's okay. I'll spell it out. THEDIALTEAM.FFLALL.com.
All right. Well, that's the one where you can find Heather. There's probably some folks on here that use a different one. So if they do, just use theirs if you're upline or whatever.
Who is the person that said their mortgage is behind and they need leads? Send me that info.
Yeah, that was Mikkel, right?
I don't know who. Dan, don't put her on blast like that. Send me her info.
No. Oh,
no,
that
she did it
girl.
at
I don't
everyone.
even know. No. This was the Sean call I was excited about. Sorry.
Okay. I thought it was in this group. All right, cool.
Hold on. I will. Whoever that was, send me a text message. Hold on, I'll take a picture real quick.
So when she said Mikkel file, she was saying on
The
Sean's
call. Yeah.
Not the person
That was
that-
exciting. I was so excited about that. Was so exciting. No.
Send me the info. We got to get them some leads, man. I hate to see people like that. I don't want to see people in that situation.
Got it.
Sometimes people just need a little hand and they get rolling. So
that's right.
Awesome. Great call. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you guys so much. You have no idea, actually. It's like when you say to the military, thank you for your service. Guys, I'm going to end the call with this. As a military family, here is the best thing you can say to your veteran leads. Do not say thank you for your service. Ready? Write this down. Thank you for giving me my freedom, because that's what they did.
Amen to that. Yeah, that's right.
That was awesome.
Well, with that, we will end the call. Thanks for jumping on, everybody, and we will see you on.
I'll see you tomorrow, Trey.
Yeah, right? I'll see you tomorrow in Birmingham. Yeah, that's right. We'll see you
Birmingham, then Georgia. I don't even know. Orlando, I think I just got snagged into. We're going everywhere.
We're going everywhere. Awesome. All right.
Good night, everyone.